All right, so this is not, I'm sorry, this is AP, and we're going to talk about Act 1 of Death of a Salesman. Julia gets to go first.
Alright, so I think it's pretty obvious that Willie is a bad father because he puts Biff on like a kind of a pedestal to do really, really well and to be successful. And he convinces himself, like when Biff is younger, that he is doing well and kind of ignores like all the bad things that he does. So the scene that I find interesting is like when Nard is like telling him about Biff's math grade, and then Melinda is telling him about how Biff treats women, and he's like, "Shut up! Can you stop talking?"
You're talking about, this is Willie's response.
Yeah. It kind of like it's like a confrontation that kind of shatters his reality that he has made for Biff, and that's why they're at strife all the time. Because, yeah.
Yeah, good observation, good start. Ty?
I find it interesting that Willie's spends all his money on stuff for his mistress and not for his family, and then all that stuff ends up going to his wife, which is kind of thanks is for her.
Really, that last part, all what goes to his wife would,
Like this, some of the stuff that he buys his wife, he thinks that it is for her.
right, so how do you deal with that? What does it say about Willie? What kind of person is
Not a
Willie?
good person.
Because he's cheating on his wife. So two things we've established, he's in denial about his children, and he's cheating on his wife. Why don't we go to Madison?
To kind of build off Julia's point, I think the memory of the stolen football is an example of how Willie's a bad father, because it just shows how Willie thinks and teaches his kids how being well-liked and having a good reputation is the key to success. And he kind of bases his success and his kids' success off, like, a man who makes appearances, a man who gets ahead.
Okay, there's a lot there, and it's good stuff. Why does he put up with cheating? I mean, he's cheating, he puts up with it. His son probably stole, he's a thief. Why does he do that? Why does he ignore, like, we were talking about the way he treats women? What's going on with Willie? Why does he put up with that? Why does he ignore it? He's proud of Biff, and he doesn't mind. That shows what it shows ambition. You know, it shows that you're able to take care of yourself. I mean, the stealing part, it just shows you ambition. So why's he doing that?
Well, in the Biff situation, he kind of thinks the breaking the rules doesn't apply to him because he's well-liked, so he just...
It makes up for it.
Yeah.
And it seems like the outcome is more important than how you get there. You know, like the old cheating excuse, you know, it doesn't matter how I made it, I just made it. That's all. It's just a hoop you go through, it's just something you do. It doesn't really matter. We can make a life of that. How about Elizabeth?
I thought it was kind of interesting how much emphasis Willie puts on being well-liked. I think that kind of stems from his brother and his father leaving him, because he kind of took that as a projection and took it as being left. And so I think he was kind of trying to always make sure that he's well-liked and everybody loves him, so nobody would ever want to leave him again, which is kind of shown when Ben tries to leave and Willie's like begging him to stay.
I think it was Happy who said too that he's alone, that he felt alone, and so that may be onto something about the way Willie, the reason Willie doesn't want to be alone, and oddly enough, that seems to be the direction he's going. In an effort not to be alone, he actually is creating that for him. Yeah.
I thought it was interesting how hypocritical Willie is, because he's like, he calls Biff a failure when he can't even make his payments, and he has to basically take a loan from his neighbor every week. And then he also doesn't like his neighbor because he thinks like he's not as successful as him when he's more successful, and he also again has to take money from him. just like, I think it's all like kind of pride and like deception, because he probably knows, like, it shows that he knows that he's a failure, but he's trying to like cover it up with his pride.
Yeah, something you were just saying about what's wrong with a few lies? What's wrong with cheating a little bit? You know, I mean, what's wrong with it? You can see it happening with Willie. He's lied to himself. You know, if you lie enough, then you can't believe anything. And now he's living in illusion. It's not reality. Truth is reality. Lies are not real. And if you stay in that world of lies, you're going to be living in you're going to be think things that aren't true. You're not going to be able to tell the difference between what's true, what's not. You're not going to be able to trust other people if you live that way. Because if you're a liar, they're probably a liar too, so I can't trust them. I know you get in trouble if you trust people sometimes, but it's better than, you know, not trusting people at all. Yes.
I thought it was interesting about like Willie's character development through the first act, because like when you start, it seems like he's just like going through this trauma from like having all these wrecks, and like he seemed to be a good father like when they were young, even though like he was favoriting one son over the other, he just seemed to be more happy. And now like you see him having these accidents and having episodes, and then like by the end of the act, nothing really leads to it. It's just like you find out that he's been trying to commit this suicide, but he's like playing death. He's not really going after it.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's really tired. I think he probably does fall asleep on the road. That's probably some truth to that. He's definitely trying to kill himself at home. Maybe he's trying to kill himself on the road. We talked about earlier, he's not very successful. Seems like you want to kill yourself, you can do it, right? It's not so hard. But multiple times he keeps trying to do it, and he fails. That's because he doesn't want to do it. You know, nobody does, I don't think. Nobody really wants to do it. They said that, of course, we never know the answer to this, but one guy actually did. He jumped off the Golden Gate Bridge, one of those bridges, to kill himself, and he didn't. But the moment he stepped off the bridge, he changed his mind. He said as soon as he did it, and you know, you got 20 seconds, you know, that's a long time when you're dying. He should have died and he didn't, but as soon as he stepped off the bridge, he regretted it. And, you know, you can't go back. What?
Chance.
He didn't. Yeah, he didn't die. I mean, that's very tall. It should kill you, but it didn't.
Is he still alive?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know how old the story is. He eventually died. Everybody does that. John?
The story. I thought the story with Vince kind of didn't really make sense to me how he like got rich from like an African diamond mine, but then he kind of left that to go to like Alaska to look for his dad, or I mean, isn't Ben Willie's brother?
Yeah.
So
Older, I think. Yeah, older.
So he went to look for his dad in Alaska, but I was confused what kind of happened after that, because then it just says he kind of just dies. But does he ever like find them?
Did you say it doesn't make sense to you?
Yeah, like I'm kind of.
Yeah, well, I think that's on purpose. I think again, he's a liar. He's not in reality. So how much of anything the man says that or believes is true? Like any of that, you're right. That's a really good point to think that he has this, and you'll see it more. I think you've already seen some of it. His brother walked into the jungle and walked out a millionaire. Like that's all he knows. He went in and he comes out. Is that any truth to that whatsoever? We don't know. And you know, Biff can't remember if he got fired by that guy. I can't remember his name, but he can't remember if he got fired or if he quit. He can't remember because he too has told so many lies he can't tell the truth. Willie even says, "I'm vital in New England. I'm vital." Are you? Willie said that.
He's so vital that he makes basically nothing.
Yeah, right. Biff said that this guy said, "Biff, if you ever need anything, come to me." That was the guy that fired him. Is that true? You know, I mean, that's probably not even true. I wrote down some of the it's probably not true. The things that both of them believe are not true because they live in They live in an unreality, yeah.
I think it's an interesting dynamic, how, I believe it's Biff who initially favorites, right?
Say that again?
It's Biff who he initially gets favored of.
That's right.
He initially had a lot of favor towards him, but he falls out of favor and becomes, like, he really dislikes him thoroughly by the modern time, with like the past and the modern.
Yeah.
Partially, because of like what he assumes is laziness and his lack of ability to get a job. It's interesting how he kind of flips and turns on him.
Well, he does,
He goes from being his favorite to the son he completely favors the other, to calling him like a lazy disappointment.
Did you notice the statement, I'm trying to find it real quickly, they were talking about Biff, and, all right, Willie says, page 16, he says, Biff is a lazy bum. Like, 1, 2, 3, 4 lines later, he says, there's one thing about Biff, he's not lazy.
Well, that's another interesting thing. Willie constantly contradicts himself
Yeah.
in a very short space of time.
That's right.
He says one thing and another thing
Yeah.
and another, one thing, he can't, it's hard to figure out what.
And he can't distinguish between, reality and a dream. He talks to Ben, he talks out loud, he can't tell the difference, so this is the result of a life lived the way he's lived. You can't undo it. Say it again?
Which is a life of lies.
That's right. He can't figure out the truth now. He doesn't know the difference. Ethan?
So I have a question. This is kind of dark, but, I was very confused on, like, how he was trying to kill himself at his house.
Right.
Like, I was just very confused about how, like, the hose.
It's gas, right?
It's fixation.
Yeah, gonna try to,
Where you go in your car and you roll up all the windows. and
Carbon
gas,
monoxide, yeah.
Did he try to suffocate himself?
Basically.
Was there some gas hose in
But- but he can't even do that right. He can't even kill himself. That's a failure, isn't it? You think you could do one thing right, and Kayla and I talked about this earlier. I don't wanna steal anybody's thunder, but what has he done right? We criticize the guys a lot to criticize, and we hadn't even scratched the surface, there's more, but what does he not even see about his own life? Like, what? What? He has stuff. I mean, he has a house. He even says that at the end. It's kind of sad, but he actually owns a house. I think he has one more payment or something, but he almost owns a house. Isn't that the American dream? He has 2 adult sons who had, I mean, they're failures in most ways, but they're healthy. They are, they're alive. He has a wife that adores him. What is this? That guy has achieved something. He's even in delusion about that. He can't see what he actually has. The people who commit suicide are that way. Their brain is so messed up about their heart that they don't see what there is to live for. And this guy has all this to live for, and he doesn't appreciate it. Even Biff. What is Biff doing now? And I don't want to steal you guys. Let me just go back to Max and then Kyle and a couple other people.
Oh, yeah, I thought it was interesting how much importance Willie placed on just being lights and how he equated that to being successful. Saying that how just because Biff was a light, he was gonna be successful later in life, and the reverse of that, how Bernard wasn't like as well liked, he wasn't being successful. It almost seems like he's trying to like cover up for like his failures by saying because he wasn't well liked, he's not successful, like pointing that to like a reason.
I mean, we know that high school isn't the end of life, it's not an end in itself, it's a process. And so what the people's status in high school doesn't necessarily tell us what their status is gonna be later in life, and many people that, I can't believe he did that, or she did that, can't believe that, they weren't the big shots, and yet they get out of the high school environment, they go and they turn things around, and they're very successful. So Bernard's that guy. He was not well liked at all. He just got his nose in the book, and he's learning stuff, and he knows what to do. He's the real deal. he wasn't fooled by the false popularity or the immediate popularity. He was investing, and he was successful, so, I mean, we could even ask, how important is that anyway? Now, he is a salesman. Now, that should say something. I mean, would you buy something from a guy who's not a very nice salesman, not a nice guy? Usually, if we like them, we might do business with them, although they might be cheating us. But, you know, I think that is something that, at least, he knows that in his line of business, you gotta be liked, maybe not well liked. Kyle?
I just think like all that he does wrong and like passing on to his children kind of stems from like his.
Say all that again, I was having trouble
I think
hearing.
like everything that he like screws up and then passes on to his children kind of stems from him not having a father growing up.
Right.
And so it kind of shows that like since his father just left him, like he didn't learn a lot of skills and like kind of like treat women properly, which like he has an affair and then
Right.
that translates to his son's not treating women properly. So I think like it's not an excuse for like a lot of what he does wrong. It's because he grew up without a father. And so like it's still his fault, but like because his father wasn't there, it just went down the line, and so now he was like corrupt, and then now his kids are gonna be messed up. And
Well,
their kids might-
I like what you said, it's an explanation, but not an excuse, because, you know, everybody's got something, and if you remember the House of Seven Gables, you know, the sins of the fathers are visited upon every generation until it's finally broken, and the sons, like you, I believe you said this, the sons are just like him. The way they treat women, the way they cheat and lie in their particular businesses and steal, they learned that from him. Willie had to be a part of that. Nick and Todd, you don't want to be the last one. Do you, Todd?
I thought it was interesting that even though like Happy was the most similar of the two sons to Willie, that
Happy?
yeah, he was still like a salesman kind of in
Right,
the
good.
world.
Yeah.
But that Biff was still the favorite of the two towards the beginning.
Well, even Happy looked up to Biff, like in high school. But Happy, you're right, Happy's doing the thing that Willie would approve of. He's in an office, he's making money, he's not out on a farm doing something. So you're right, Happy is the guy that actually followed in his father's steps more. Yes, Nick.
I don't understand how Willie is so delusional that he can look down on his neighbor that's like doing better than him. I don't really get where he rationalizes that. Because he goes taking money from this guy every single week and still like. thinks
What was
he's
that last thing you said? I'm sorry, you said something that,
how he rationalizes
Yeah.
like being better than his neighbor. I don't understand.
Right.
Like what his process is for that.
okay,
How he justifies that he's better than his neighbor because he like money from every week.
okay, right.
Like his son and the neighbor's son like don't get along that well. Like they don't, like Bernard's always like, you know, trying to say something smart and they're always telling him like shut up or whatever.
Right.
I just don't understand how, like why is the neighbor giving money, you know? Why is he nice to this guy? He's so brutal.
That's a good question. I have trouble understanding that too. I don't know why. I don't know what his motivation is to do that. He's loyal, which is something Willie's not. You know, he's loyal to a neighbor, to a friend. What's that?
I said, yeah, he's cheating on his wife all the time, so clearly it's not very loyal.
Yeah, you're gonna find out more about them in the next act, and we just have a couple of minutes. Would you turn back to the first page? I'm asking you to read this for Thursday. You know, I don't know about Friday. Friday will be a little short schedule, next Friday. Turn back to the first page. There's some things that you all talked about, but I just wanna point out. So here, you might wanna write it there. I don't think I have a question about this, but it's Act 1. Notice that it describes first the flute. The flute represents his dad. His dad's soul flute's kind of an odd thing. I'm sure there's probably, I thought of the Piper, but there's probably also, who's the Greek god? Pan, is it Pan? With the flute or something? There's probably something there. I haven't thought about but there's probably some connection there. But the father, and notice the house it says is kind of being crowded by the buildings. The nature that he lives in is being crowded by the buildings. I was thinking, that's a picture of America. You know, how the cities are growing and the old way of life that may be close to nature is, they're losing it. It's nature versus the city, two kind of opposite things. And they're crowded, and then it talks about when you go in, there's a dream. The idea of dream clings to the place. And we talked about the American dream. We talk about Willie's think about all the ways he dreams big. He's a little man who has big dreams. The idea of owning a house is the American dream. He actually sleeps and literally dreams when he's driving. So we'll pursue that more next week. Maybe we'll spend, and again, I don't, yeah, never mind. All right, we'll see you.